We're live. Oh my goodness. We
to
almost forgot about it because we were so trying to get Ben right on his good side.
Okay. Welcome to Tuesday, Thursday, April, August. I'm Ben Rimalower here with my lovely co-host, Daniel Nolen.
Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday morning.
Live from New York. No, what is it? Yeah. Live from New York. You do it.
Live from New York. It's Tuesday morning.
It's Thursday.
Thursday morning. Fuck.
Tuesday, Thursday, April, August.
Time heals everything. It's a song. And time heals everything.
I have to apologize. That was all my fault. I made Daniel spend the entire 20 minutes in the studio backstage. Is that what they say? The green room. No, what does the app actually says backstage, I think. Just trying to fix my angle. I'm trying
he's being so Barbara this morning.
It's not being Barbara. Barbara never had to shave her cheeks. Actually, maybe she did. I don't know.
I mean, if I was Jimmy Fallon, you'd be making me switch seats with you and sitting at the desk.
I tried, but you couldn't. Show them what happened when you tried to switch our places.
So I was trying. I hope they can see this. So I was trying to flip us, so Ben would be happy. And so I was trying all these different layouts, and I said, "Ooh, that's the right one, I think."
Hi, kids.
Hi, kids. Clock the mug.
Put down that Hello Dolly cup. Take me back to the lights of 14th Street. Well, speaking of Hello Dolly, we had a very exciting day yesterday.
We did. It was fabulous.
We pre-taped our next Broken Records proper Quarren Stream episode, which is going to be Quarren Streaming, the Bravo Profiles episode featuring Betty Buckley. And we talked about it with Betty Buckley.
Yes. Dolly Levi herself.
It was so incredible. We talked to Betty for almost 2 hours.
Literally 2 hours.
About her whole career. And it was thrilling. She was so lovely to us. And
so gracious. She told us so many wonderful stories.
So many.
And she was so open and just talked about her whole career and her feelings about being an artist and everything. And it's really, even if you don't know a lot about Betty, watching the documentary and then listening to our talk with her, I think will inspire a lot of people kind of going through it right now, because she is a source of strength.
Yes, she is. I just want to say for the record that I tried very hard to not get into my whole Dolly concert kill, diva shenanigans. Yeah. I didn't want to offend her, but she is the one who brought up Patti LuPone.
Yes, and Elaine Stritch.
And Elaine Stritch. Whatever. Right. Everybody brings up Elaine Stritch. But what are you doing?
I'm pointing to Elaine on my wall.
Oh, yes. Thank you. You didn't point to Barbara when I brought her up.
Barbara's not back there.
Who's that? Oh, Amy Winehouse.
Barbara will be so pleased.
Anyway, I only say that Betty brought up Patti as a teaser to get people to tune in.
That's right.
Of course, I am the one who brought up Glenn Close, always shooting myself in the foot.
Always.
I could just leave her out of the conversation. As my sister said, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Glenn Close.
Glenn who?
Exactly.
Oh!
Shout out to Lucy Rimalower. Anyway, but it inspired me. So basically, most of what I've been listening to all week, both in preparation for the Betty chat and then just in the living in the revelry of that moment in my life, has just been Betty. I think I told you yesterday that, of course, I was always obsessed with Betty's Children Will Listen from the Sondheim celebration at Carnegie Hall in 1992. Totally. And for anyone, we're going to do that as one of our Quarren streams. So people need to check that out. It's an amazing star-studded thing. It's got Betty, Patti, Bernadette, Glenn Close, Liza, Dorothy Loudon. Literally, I mean, Maren Mazie's in the chorus. That's how top-notch the event is.
Yeah, how stacked it was.
So fantastic. But anyway, Betty sings Children Will Listen. Well, she does it. Actually, it's a medley. The Harlem Boys Choir is behind her singing Our Time from Merrily. And Betty comes out and does Children Will Listen. And it is so thrilling what she does with that song. I found my old article I'd written for Playbill that was like a guide to all the recordings of Betty Buckley. And I said that like I lived and died 1,000 lifetimes.
Yes, I read that. I love that.
Thank you. Just in the moment she sang the vibrato on the word careful and careful that tale you tell. I mean,
yes.
I remember when I was directing Into the Woods in college, I really tried to convince my musical director, Jack Bailey, John Kendall Bailey, brilliant musician in the Bay Area, to let us do that arrangement in the show for The Witch. And he was like, first of all, that arrangement is a medley with Our Time from Merrily. We can't do that.
Throw that in there too.
But I just wanted it so badly. I feel like Children Will Listen is such a letdown after you've heard that version.
Okay, let's get that because we talked about this a lot, but I don't think we ever talked about it on the pod. Into the Woods is the gateway Sondheim for so many, including myself. And I love it so much, and it's one of my top 5 shows of all time.
Yeah.
But seeing it now as an adult and someone who knows a little bit more about theater and, you know, the production and the building of a show, it is a little problematic how there's so many of those beautiful like 11 o'clock ballads one after the other.
Call them 11 o'clock. You compliment them. There's no 11 o'clock. It's just fucking power ballad, like inspirational anthems one after the other. We get No More and No One Is Alone and Children Will Listen. And look, they're all great songs, although I will say of the 3 of those songs, Children Will Listen is less good than the other 2.
Yeah.
But it's too much. You don't want that. And if you're going to give the witch a solo at that point, give her the Betty Buckley arrangement so she can let it be an 11 o'clock number.
Yeah, they never give you a full
listen, you know, but she doesn't get that. And so they give her this pointless F sharp she has to hit. Maybe but why? Poor Bernadette. Poor all the witches. Why do they have to be like, children will listen? Why?
Yeah.
Why does she have to hit the soprano note? So stupid.
But I do love that she does it.
Yes, well, whatever. It's cute. But I really love Betty's. Oh, but this is my point. So listening to all this Betty, there's other recordings of Betty singing Children Will Listen that I've always how do you pronounce that word? Eschewed? I can't. That's right.
I always thought it was eschew like cashew.
Yeah, okay. So I've always eschewed the other recordings because I'm like, no. It's like the Children Will Listen of Betty Buckley you want is the one. But I had made a different kind of playlist, Betty Buckley and Chill. And so I had different things on, including Children Will Listen is the title track on her second album. And I would never listen to that because why wouldn't I want to hear her do it with Paul Gemignani, this crazy belty version? Why would I want this other version? But I was listening to it and it's actually this like jazz version and it's totally beautiful. And then the third version, I listened to it like 4 times in a row. I couldn't get it. It was like, it was giving me that, it was very hang on in there, baby. Like just like quarantine feelings.
Yeah, grounding.
And then the other version, to be even more sentimental, but I was loving it, is Johnny Mathis has a Broadway album. Now I can't remember the name of the album, but it's like from the 2000s.
Yeah.
And he has Betty as a guest artist to do a duet with him. That's a medley of Children Will Listen and Our Children from Ragtime. Which is really wonderful. And it really made me want to hear Betty sing more Aarons and Flaherty, particularly obviously Back to Before.
Yeah.
But I especially was thinking to hear Betty, like when she was younger, sing what's Mother's song from the beginning that's so beautiful? What of the people whose boundaries change?
Yeah.
Goodbye, my love. Goodbye, my love. Which anyway, it's a perfect segue. Betty would have sung the shit out of that role.
But I have to say, before we go on, there's this thing that is it her music director who says it in the Bravo thing? He says Betty is not what?
Kenny Werner.
Yes, Kenny.
Her for many years, no longer.
He says this quote that I loved. He said, "Betty is not recreative. Betty is creative."
Yeah,
which is so true because she makes so many things her own. You know, she's not just doing like a cover version of whatever song. It's like she's doing a Betty version.
Totally. And, you know, famously, Stephen Sondheim told her to stop. We didn't bring that up in the interview, but she's talked about it. I think that was, you know, very upsetting for her. But I didn't think she needed to stop singing his songs. Just do them the way he wants them, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, because I told you also on that Children Will Listen album, I love the she does another like a jazz version of Sorry Grateful. There's a lot of Sondheim on that album.
Yeah.
My favorite version of Sorry Grateful.
Yeah.
And well, tied for first. My other favorite version of Sorry Grateful was I saw a production of Side by Side by Sondheim at the Pasadena Playhouse in like 2003 or 4 with like Davis Gaines. I was going to say friend of the pod, but whatever.
We discussed him, yes.
And Terry Ralston and I want to say, now I can't remember. I want to say Michelle Duffy. But anyway, Richard Kind was like the narrator. And he sang Sorry Grateful as a solo. It was like his one song, although I think he might have been one of the strippers and Gotta Get a Grimmick. And it was spectacular. It was so wonderful. Anyway, anyway, so what were we talking about? Oh, the other Ragtime. Ahrens and Flaherty.
Yeah, you said a good thing.
This has been my journey. So there was an amazing article that Ahrens and Flaherty wrote together in Playbill. I guess they wrote it before Terrence McNally died, and then it was published right after. So they amended it to just have a little shout out to him. But they go through the original Broadway cast album of Ragtime song by song and give the background. Each one writes like a paragraph or more than a paragraph on each song.
Oh, yes. I've seen this. Yeah.
Everyone, do yourself a favor. Get that article, put on that album, and just one at a time, just read what Ahrens and Flaherty have to say and listen to those songs. It reminded me, I saw Ragtime on Broadway 4 times, and I saw the LA production. I love that show so much. I didn't see the revival because what does Patty say about Les Mis? It was the perfect theatrical experience. Yeah. I just didn't want to mess with it, you know?
Right. I've still never seen a production of it.
I mean, that production was just so immense and over. I mean, you know, there was fireworks and a factory and a car, and I think there was like a helicopter or something. It was just, you know, it was really elaborate. But the show called for that. I mean, it was so epic, you know. But they really need to have a revival that people get behind, you know. And it feels so appropriate now because it's all about American ingenuity and. You know, anyway, I really loved it.
Well, I need to take that journey as well because I listened to Ragtime, but not in a while, and certainly not while, you know, going through it song by song on like with that article. So that's a good quarantine activity for me.
It really is. But of course, the main quarantine activity that I'm just living for on a day-to-day basis is Stars in the House, Seth Rudetsky and James Wesley's twice a day live stream fundraiser for the Actors Fund. And I took your advice and I watched the Desperate Housewives reunion.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. And I forgot that I was like weirdly I guess not that weirdly, but I was like a big fan of Desperate Housewives.
Me too. I watched every season. I watched it for a while. I don't think I watched the last couple seasons, but I really loved it, and I love that they had Vanessa Williams and Dana Delaney. Dana Delaney, yeah.
I mean, Vanessa Williams is really one of my favorite television actresses.
Yeah,
like between Ugly Betty and how great she was on Desperate Housewives, she's so spectacular. But they did throw a little subtle shade at what's your girlfriend's name?
Susan Terry,
yeah,
your girlfriend.
They like there was a moment like they were each talking about how it was and like because Dana Delaney I think you know had joined on like the 3rd to last season or something and she was like and they were like and how was it for you joining so late and she was like it was well and the other girls were like
ooh. Yeah, I've heard there's this I think that they were on the cover of Vanity Fair or something and there's that huge story about the Vanity Fair shoot. And I don't know. I've just heard that was a nightmare. And I guess also Felicity Huffman wasn't on there, but
I think that might have been. They said really nice things about her,
but she's not still in. She's out of jail, right?
Yeah, but maybe you know they don't. They're trying to raise money. They don't want anything controversial,
right? But I have to say,
the reason that you put me in the smaller box.
Lynette was always my favorite, though. Felicity's character.
Yeah, well, they all certainly like really like paid respect to her as an actor and all that, you know. But I mean, I just loved that show.
I did too, and it was so, you know, looking back on it, it was a network TV. It was like Monday nights, primetime show, but it was so, you know, this was, you know, back in the early 2000s, and so this was still a different time, and they had like a gay couple, and of course it was Mark Cherry who had, you know, written for Golden Girls.
Well, every episode had the title of a Sondheim song.
Really?
Yeah.
Every episode?
Maybe not every single one. A lot of episodes.
Oh wow! I did well when I was back watching Desperate Housewives. I was not as into Sondheim yet, but
tell me, I don't really want to know, but tell me how old you were when Desperate Housewives came on the air in 2003? I was 2005.
I started watching it. I was probably a junior or a senior in high school, so it was like 2005 or 2006.
All right, I can deal with that.
Yeah, but then I watched it through college, and I would buy all the DVDs and, you know, watch all of them.
Oh, I'm so happy that DVDs. I want no physical media. I'm so done with it.
Me neither. Although I posted this yesterday on my Insta, but I was cleaning out my closet and I found a DVD of the 6th season of Murder, She Wrote, which thrilled me because they had recently been on Amazon Prime, but it was only seasons 1 through 5, which I've seen, but I haven't seen like 6 through 42 or whatever the other ones are. So this was, and they just took them off Amazon Prime, so I can't watch them anymore. So I found a DVD set of season 6, and I just got a DVD player recently, so I'm thrilled.
Well, I think
the Barbara movie Up the Sandbox. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Wait, no, I get that confused with the worst one. No, I've seen them all. I get it confused with Up All Night, the one we talked about.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Unwatchable.
But I bought Up the Sandbox a long time ago. I've still never watched it, but apparently she liked it, so I'm sure I won't.
Her taste is notoriously her taste. The other episode I watched of Stars in the House that I'm obsessed with was he had the many of the cast members of Glee.
Oh, okay.
Were you a Glee person?
No, never.
Oh, I don't think anybody watched the whole series, but I was there for a couple of years. I'm
surprised I wasn't. It was right in my wheelhouse.
Well, he had to break it up when he has these bigger casts because he can only have 6 people in a StreamYard. They should send some of them over here. Yeah. But so the first one was Jenna Uskowitz, who had actually organized the whole thing. And I don't know if people know this, but in addition to being fabulous on Glee, she's also a Broadway producer. I've met her. She's very cool. So she was a replacement. I didn't know this, in Waitress as the the little funny girl, you know, that what's her name from Orange Is the New Black played. Anyway, so the first section was her and Chris Colfer and Amber Riley and Kevin McHale.
Okay.
And they were very much like saying that the 4 of them were like a posse and they were like true blue friends. And I have to say, Amber Riley, that's my new obsession. Just on Seth's show. I mean, I always liked her on Glee. And I knew that she had starred in Dreamgirls on the West End. So obviously she's got chops, but which she showed on the episode of Seth. She was just so, what were we talking about Bernadette? How she's so charismatic.
Charming, charismatic.
Amber Riley was like that. Like, I was just falling in love with her. Like, no matter what anybody said, she just seemed so real and so warm and so funny and smart and just likable, and you just want to be around her. And I'm standing Amber Riley. But anyway, that was the first chunk, right? So what are you laughing at? Because I said stan.
Yeah.
At least I didn't say Amber Riley slaps.
It's so funny when you say stan, I hear it.
It's more like Dorothy's
translates it through B. Arthur's voice saying Stan on the window.
Yeah. Anyway, Stanley. So the second half was Matt Morrison and Jane Lynch and Darren Criss.
Oh, yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, Matt Morrison's looking really good these days.
He's always been looking really good, and he's good. And Jane comes across divine. I mean, if I wasn't already in love with her and wanting her to play like Mame and Vera and like the bongos on my face, like this, but like I mean, I don't want to. It's one thing for us to be like the also ran recap show for Stars in the House, but we certainly don't want to be shit talking or anything. And I'm not shit talking, but you have to watch it for Darren Criss.
I don't mind. Okay, yeah, I don't mind shit talking Darren Criss.
Well, the thing is, for the record, I thought his performance as Andrew Cunanan in the American Crime Story was amazing. I think he's a huge, fabulous star. I'm totally team Darren Criss, but he is so actory and narcissistic, and not in a evil way. His intentions are so good. He's just clearly, I mean, I think he's younger than you. And, Jane is what in her mid 50s or something. And Matt's my age or something, and they've just been around the block. And Darren's a little more, there's just something very you just have to watch it. You just have to watch it.
The letters are going to be rolling in from all the Broadway millennials.
You just have to watch it. Although the two things that are really hilarious about it are, one is that at one point Seth is okay, so just tell me what a typical week was working on Glee. Because, with all the musical numbers and everything, Glee was a famously crazy work schedule.
Yeah,
they were work to the bone, And he's Darren, you first. And Darren's for me, coming in late to the show, I was just a fan. I was this is fucking awesome. I'm on Glee. And I was just loving getting to work with all these people. And I just live to work. So I'm sure for some of the kids, it was really hard, but I was just loving it. I'm not even doing it justice. It's too much. So, and I was just dying over it. Right. And then, when they let him finish, and then Seth's Matt, next. And then he criticizes Darren, and it's what I love so much about Seth.
Matt criticizes him?
No, Seth, because Seth is too general, Darren. Now tell us. And it's just so Seth that he has these huge stars, and look, some of these stars are his buddies. Whether it's Sutton or Patty or whatever, he's played for them a million times. He can sass them, but he'll have, and Darren Criss is that too. But Seth will have the stars of Desperate Housewives and Taxi and whatever. He's just so good at talking to anybody in this very no nonsense, hilarious way. I love it about Seth. But for no reason, Darren is finished answering the question. It's never going to come up again. And Seth still takes time just to let him know he didn't do that well with it. It's just too funny. And then the craziest thing is that to end the broadcast, Seth has Matt play everybody out. So Matt's playing guitar or banjo, I think.
I love that.
And singing Over the Rainbow, that Hawaiian. Because it was Matt's audition, I guess, for Glee. So it's so beautiful. And Matt's doing it, playing the song. I'm not going to do it. But something goes wrong where Matt's audio gets cut off. And then, where everybody else is on mute except Matt, right? For some reason, except Matt and Darren. And then somehow Matt gets just disconnected. So then the last 2 minutes of the show are everybody on mute except Darren. And Seth's not on the screen because Seth took him and James off to just have the stars of the reunion be together.
Oh, no.
So Darren's oh, where's Matt? Are we just here? It's the lunatics are running the asylum. So Darren, I mean, what can he do? He has to he tries to finish the song. The people were
just show up on.
The people watching, they had to do something. But it was just so hilarious that after all that, it winds up being just everyone is muted except Darren.
Yeah, that's so funny. I have to watch that. I loved Matt Morrison's bit he did for Rosie the other night. I don't remember what he sang, but he played guitar. I think he had a friend with him and they were playing guitar. And yeah, I was such a fan of his. Even before Glee, he was in, of course, my favorite, Light in the Piazza, which was a very game-changing show for me. And ever since
you and for Vicky Clark.
You what?
For you and for Vicky Clark.
Truly, Tony winning. So yeah, I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Matt. He's so fabulous. So I have to tell you, we have 5.5 minutes. I have really taken a journey this morning, mostly showering and getting ready. I've been listening to Patti LuPone. What?
Always a journey.
Always a journey. But today, the soundtrack to my showering was Patti LuPone at Les Mouches. And I haven't listened to it for a couple years probably. And it was so good and just what I needed. You know, when you wake up and you're like so parched and hungover and you're just like, I need water. And you just like drink a full glass of water in bed before you do anything else. That's how I woke up today, except instead of water, it was like Patti LuPone Meadowlark. I just needed it so bad. And Spotify did not have the Baker's Wife original cast recording, sadly. So I texted you and I said, which version is better, Les Mouches or Patti LuPone Live? You said Les Mouches by far. So I just listened to that like 3 times on repeat in bed. Then I started from the top, listened to the entire Les Mouches album, getting ready, making my coffee, all that. It really took me on a journey that I hadn't really gone on with that album before because I hadn't been in the right place for it, you know? And hearing Patti, especially a lot of the banter, it reminded me so much of Bet at the Bats. Just like the energy of it and just the way she interacted with the audience and kind of like just the excitement of it and just the high energy and the kind of, you know, nightlife-y feel of it. And I just really loved it. Yeah.
Well,
and you have a great story about producing that album, right?
Yeah, so many great stories. It's funny because there's 2 other Patti like early 80s cabaret bootlegs that I love. One that I've been loving for years, that when you've chewed up that Les Mouches album and you're ready for something different, her act from the Savoy, which is now the Hudson Theater on Broadway, but it was a nightclub called the Savoy for a very short time in that period. And she did an act there, I think it's in 1981 or 82, right before she left to go do the Australian tour of Evita. And and it's pretty great, and it has some crazy stuff on it. And it was a weird show. It was directed by her brother. It did not do well. It got bad reviews.
Robert.
And Bobby, stand up. Bobby, sit down.
Robert will be so pleased.
Yes. But it's also with David Lewis, and but that's a great one, a bootleg that fans should seek out. And then the one that I had on my computer and didn't remember that I had and didn't even really remember existed. But speaking of, we were talking to Betty so much about her years of great runs at the Bottom Line, this fabulous cabaret on West 4th by NYU that just closed a couple years ago.
Yeah, now Patti it's like NYU administration building.
Yeah, Patti did a couple of runs there, at least one, and I guess I have a bootleg of it, and I really hadn't listened to it much, so I've been listening to it lately, and it has some pleasures, but I definitely was like, this is only for people who have both graduated from Les Mouches and from the Savoy.
Yeah, like the PhD in Patti.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, but I really took a journey, and there's just something about Patti LuPone doing Meadowlark that just really filled my soul, filled the gypsy in my soul.
Yeah, well, the voice there was really unmatched. Okay, I have something that we need to get all of our listeners in on. There is a new track on YouTube that claims to be Liza Minnelli's pop demo of Losing My Mind from the 1970s. The person posted 2 versions of Losing My Mind. One that they said was Peter Allen, that's like this sort of banjo-y arrangement. I didn't listen to much of that because as I was just started listening to it, I saw that they also posted Liza's 1970s pop demo years before she did the Losing My Mind Pet Shop Boys. Yeah. And I'm telling you, it is not Liza Minnelli. I don't know how anyone could actually think this is Liza Minnelli. And I was about to go comment like, this is not Liza Minnelli. And then I saw someone's comment. It's like, it sure is Liza Minnelli. And I'm like, are they being sarcastic? So before I started like posting anything though, I was like, I think we should get a like worldwide campaign to
a movement.
I mean, I kind of like it, but it ain't Liza. There's moments that are Liza-esque, but at most.
Right.
And I need everyone who's listening to listen to that and then post their support of my feelings.
Yes, we will start a grassroots movement to figure out if it's actually Liza.
Oh, it's not Liza.
Speaking of Liza, I've certainly been listening to a lot of Liza in the shower as well. She's on my getting ready morning magic playlist. Some people.
Give me a ragtime. Getting ready rag.
That's right.
I have a little Liza in my quarantine feelings, but not much.
It's not.
But,
it's not really. She's
as
not.
you know, there is no Barbara on my quarantine feelings.
Surprising. Someone
I
on
just
Twitter.
don't need her energy right now.
I wish I could remember who. It's someone I know you follow, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners follow. But he posted this survey. We're going over, but I have to finish this. He posted this survey, and it was like which bar. He posted four options of songs from each of Barbara's albums, and he was like, "Vote, and this will be my playlist tomorrow." So he gave you 24 hours to vote. So each tweet in a thread was 4 songs from each of Barbara's albums, all of them. And you had to vote on which one is the best out of the 4 options. And so I late embedded did that this morning. It was so satisfying.
Oh, wait, did I miss my chance?
Yeah, I think it's over now. But
that is like my dream. All I want to do.
Ranking Barbara's songs by album, it was so you.
Ranking anything. And when you give me a choice of 4, it really does me a solid, because otherwise, you know, my playlists are thousands of songs long. I tried to do close friends on Instagram, and I'm never going to get to the point where I'm ready to post anything because it's just like too much.
Well, you have time. But yeah, but I have to say a lot of these choices that were winning out were not, I was not in agreement with, but
well, you know.
All right. Well, we have to wrap this up. That was lovely.
We'll see you guys Tuesday. Make sure to tune in Monday morning for the new episode of Broken Records Quarantine Streams.
Yes.
Eddie Buckley, Bravo Profile.
Eddie Buckley.
Bye, Buckley.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Tuesday, Thursday, April, August.
Time heals everything. It's a song. And time heals everything.